Guys, welcome back. It is Racer X, and today I'm actually in the 2019 Challenger Scat Pack. I happen to be on my way to Cooley Dodge, which is in Arlington, Texas, because I've got a couple of cars that I want to review for you guys. I know I don't show the 6-cylinder or SXT or GT folks a lot of love on my channel simply because obviously we own a Hellcat, we own a Scat Pack. I've been trying to do a little bit more RT content because I've got some buddies that have the RTs, but I almost never do content on the SXT or the GT, and I kind of want to see how the SXT compares to the RT basically, and I want to see how those two cars really stack up against each other. Just kind of get in it, drive it, and give you my thoughts on it. So it should be a pretty cool little video. Hope you guys enjoy it. Also guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure you slap the subscribe button down here in the corner, hit the like and the bell, and we are off. We got the 1,000 horsepower helmet. God. Truth is, guys, at the end of the day, not everybody is a sports car enthusiast like I am, right? I mean, not everybody needs 500 or 1,000 horsepower. And yes, I do like the drag race, and I've always liked sports cars. But there are a lot of people, matter of fact, the vast majority of people out there don't need that kind of power. They just want something that's fun to drive, that looks good, something they can put their kids in if they need to, or go to the grocery store, but they still want that fun, muscle car or retro look, or perhaps they want that practicality in the Charger, but they still want something with a little bit of grunt. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's something to be said for, these models, these SXT and GT models, because Dodge sells more of those than they do all their other models combined. That's why when you go to dealerships, you see so many of them. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a hard look at this car and compare it to the RT and see, really what's better. Well, I have arrived at Cooley Dodge in Arlington, Texas, and I've got to tell you, they are busy here today. They are selling some vehicles. Actually got one of the few Hellcats around. You almost can't find them right now with the factories being shut down, but they actually do have one of the few Hellcat Red Eyes still available, which is pretty cool. But actually we're after something quite different today. As I mentioned, we're looking at SXTs, which is the V6, versus the RT, which is the smaller 5.7 liter V8 car that they offer. It should be a fun little comparison. So they're actually back there getting some keys for me, and we'll run through these two cars. Okay, so check it out. I am actually in the service bay here at Cooley Dodge, and I have to tell you, they have a massive service bay. It is so cool. But actually, they were nice enough to let me borrow their service bay, and I've got both cars that I wanted to review behind me here. So as you can see right here, I do have the Dodge Challenger SXT. This is their V6. And then of course, on the other side over here, you've got the Dodge Challenger RT, which is the 5.7 naturally aspirated V8 car. And I want to talk about some of the differences between these two things. Now, one thing that I did try to do, I tried to grab two cars that were actually very close in terms of trim levels. So when you talk about an SXT Challenger, this one is about as decked out as you can get until you jump to the GT. Now, the GT V6 version has obviously the same power plant as this, but it does come with an optional all-wheel drive system, and it kind of has the Hellcat sort of, the hood and some of the other accoutrements that the Hellcat kind of look comes with. As you can see, this car does have a different hood on it, and of course it's got a different air dam in the front, so a little bit different in terms of the aerodynamics package on these two cars. That's kind of the first thing you notice between these two. So the RT that I actually picked out is pretty decked out as well. This particular one has the body colored spoiler here, and of course over here on the SXT, this one has this is a blacktop edition now, guys, so I just want to be clear on that. This one here has obviously the black spoiler. It also has some pretty nice looking wheels on it. As you can see, you got them all nice and shined up. But these are the 245 Firehawk GTs on the back of this one. And then of course, as we jump over to the RT, a little bit different. This is a Goodyear. This is an Eagle RSA2, just like you see on the back of a lot of the Scat Packs that are sold. Same on the back of Mrs. X's car when it was bought, is 245 in width on that as well. One other quick item of note on the RT version here, I do have the 4-piston Brembo calipers. And of course, over on the SXT, the V6 version, you're gonna get the regular old steel brakes from Dodge. little bit different kind of braking system here, so you're going to get a little more braking power in the RT of this. So when it comes to the interior between these two cars, this actually is the RT. You can see this does have the Alcantara seats in it. This is a, like I said, this is not the base model. This is an upgraded package on this car. You can see this does have the kind of the sport mode there in the middle, the larger infotainment screen, and you know, you've got, of course, you've got the race pedals, all that good stuff. And then when you jump over to the SXT, I'm sorry guys, it actually looks similar. It's a very similar place to sit. As you can see, this actually has a really nice leather seating surface in here. I actually do really like these seats. And same thing, you've got the sport mode in here. I mean, larger infotainment center. So from an amenities perspective, guys, these two cars are almost identical. They're very, very similar in terms of just the seating position and you know, a nice place to sit. Very comparable. One other little quick item of note on the RT, I do notice it does have the headlight pass-throughs, just like Mrs. X's car, but on the SXT, you can see it's just a solid lens here, completely different headlight there. So something to think about. So what is one of the big differentiating factors, obviously, between the SXT and the RT? Well, obviously, really the big thing is the motor. As you can see right here, this is the SXT. This is their standard V6. This is the Pentastar engine, which actually has 305 horsepower, 268 pound-feet of torque. And now when you jump over to the Hemi, that is the V8 here, the smaller V8. It's 5.7 liters. You're talking 372 horsepower and 400 pound-feet of torque. So you can see the horsepower numbers. Yeah, there's a difference there, but you really see a big difference when it comes to torque. It'll actually be interesting to see how these two cars drive, just how different in terms of power and what the driving experience is really like between these two cars. I do want to just mention, I mean, at first glance, obviously it does say 3.6 on the SXT, but from an intake perspective, a lot of things actually look very similar when you look at these two engines. Obviously, we jump over here, you can see the intake actually looks fairly similar, obviously where the a lot of the coolant reservoirs and stuff like that are in here. I mean, it's obviously this thing sits in here a little bit different, but in terms of just how they look, they really don't look entirely different, but in terms of how they perform, I think we're going to find that they're pretty different. Okay, now I know what you're going to ask, and it is probably the most important thing when you're looking at these two types of cars is how much do they cost? Well, obviously a decked out RT can kind of climb up there a little bit. This particular one is pretty darn decked out. As you can see, this one is $45,000. Now do keep in mind that is the sticker price, but this is an RT Plus. This is an SXT Plus. And you can see this one's about $10,000 less. I actually had them print me a sticker. And as you can see right here, we're at $35,870, the sticker price on this one. Of course, Dodge has their power dollars and some of the other ways you can save money on these two cars, but you're looking at about a $10,000 difference between the two packages. Something to think about. I am now aboard the Dodge Challenger SXT. It's the V6. And, you know, I'm just kind of piloting this thing down through. And I have to say that, you know, this is a car that I really don't have much experience with. I mean, obviously, I typically go for the higher trim levels, but this thing still has that same really nice, you know, look and feel that I love about the Challenger. I mean, it has a really nice, I mean, these cars, they're big, guys. That's the thing about these Mopars. But because they're big, they typically ride really nice, and this thing is no exception. You can see my camera's not shaking around at all because this thing, it actually doesn't ride quite as stiff as Mrs. X's Scat Pack. It actually has kind of a real, I won't say a supple ride, but it rides really nice and smooth. And then on tip in, obviously it doesn't have a ton of just kick you in the face torque, but I will say it's got a really nice amount of downshift to it, and it definitely does not feel like it is lacking in power. So I'm actually a little bit impressed, you know, with the power I'm feeling in this. It doesn't feel weak by any stretch of the imagination, like it's lacking anything. Obviously, had I not been in a Scat Pack or a Hellcat and some of those other things, knowing how powerful they can be, this thing does feel, you know, it feels definitely like it's got enough power. Here we go. We're going to tip into it just a little bit. It's rolling along quite nicely, actually. So this particular one, like I said, this is a pretty decked out SXT. It is not the all-wheel drive GT, but in terms of just you know, the features it has, it's actually quite nice. It doesn't have the sunroof in it, but it's got just about everything somebody could want. And you know what? Like I said, I mean, just for everyday driving, 99% of the time type driving, this thing has a fair amount of power, and it feels really solid. I mean, it doesn't feel like a race car, but at the same time, I'm cresting a hill right now, moving out pretty good, over 70 miles an hour, and hey, the car feels really solid. It really does. And like I said, I'm not typically one to go for more of that base model trim, but even in the most base motor that Dodge makes, this thing still gets out of its own way. No complaints from me at all on the SXT motor. This Pentastar does just fine. So yeah, this thing is just a really solid, nice driving car. I mean, like I said, it's not a race car, but in terms of just feeling like it has enough power, it feels great. And the car actually drives really, really nice in terms of the ride quality. You know, it's an enjoyable car to drive, no issues. Okay, now I am in the RT Challenger, and you know, obviously from a fit and finish perspective, car feels very similar to the SXT, and I'm just kind of cruising along. I do have this thing in sport mode. I have the other one in sport mode as well, so both of them do come with that, and still got the window sticker up here. But you know what, the car obviously feels really solid. Once again, I will say from a ride quality perspective, this one might actually feel a little bit more stiff, and I'm not sure why that is, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're looking at more power, a bigger engine, and you know, this one actually has the paddle shifters here, which I will go ahead and use, and then we'll go ahead and you can listen to the V8, guys. That's the one thing I do love, the sound of a V8. And yes, the RT still moves out pretty good here, guys. I do like it. I will say that you can definitely feel there is a difference in power. In terms of how much that difference is, it's kind of hard to say, because the SXT had a little bit of punch to it. Obviously, this one does feel like it has more punch, so you do feel the difference in torque. I mean, you're talking about what, like 140 pound-feet of torque difference. That's really where the big difference is. I mean, there is a difference in horsepower as well, but once again, the car drives really nice. It's balanced. It is just a really solid, nice driving car. It just has a little bit more power than the SXT does. All right, we'll go ahead and come out of this corner, give it a little bit. Car's rolling along quite nicely. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell this one's got a V8 in it. You know, like I said, it's not going to set the world on fire in terms of speed, but you can definitely feel it. You can definitely feel it push you back in the seat just a little bit more. It's got that very nice, familiar V8. It doesn't have quite that Scat Pack type low-end punch, but in terms of just getting out of its own way, absolutely, the car feels really, really solid. You do feel a difference in power, but you know, both trims are actually, you know, really nice. It's just personal preference. I do have to say that the one thing about the RT that, you know, obviously, you know, you can feel a little difference when you're driving it around in terms of power, but it's just the sound. And I'm a V8 guy, you know, I'm a car enthusiast, as you guys know, have some pretty powerful cars, owned a lot of powerful cars, and there is just no substitute for that big V8 grumble that you get when you're operating one of these things. And obviously this is the smaller of the two V8s they offer, but it still sounds really, really good. I mean, I just love the way a nice, nicely sorted V8 car sounds, and this one definitely fits the bill. We'll see, coming out of a curve in this little car, it feels pretty solid. I do like it. I mean, it still makes me smile a little bit every time, guys. Every time I drive one of these things, I still have such a good time with it. It doesn't matter if it's 372 horsepower or 1,000. I still manage to have a good time when I'm driving one of these. So now, guess what? My sales guy that I actually bought the Subaru WRX STI from a few weeks back, Daniel, he's actually going to run the six-cylinder, the SXT, versus me on the highway. We're going to go up and run them a little bit so you guys can actually see the difference in terms of power between the V6 and the 5.7 liter V8. So unfortunately I didn't bring my GoPro with me today, guys, so I'm just going to have to film it with this and change camera positions, but it still should be fun, and I appreciate Daniel being a good sport. So now, I don't know how much experience Daniel has with roll racing. I might let him kind of just take the jump just a little bit so that we can really see. I tried to position this camera in a way where I can still be safe and watch the road, and you guys might be able to see what's going on next to me. So we'll see what happens here. Ready? All right, here we go. Yeah, I'm walking him pretty good. He's back there a little ways. I got him by about 4 or 5 cars, but before I let go, we'll get it one more time here, guys. It's hard to see, so one more time. All right, here we go. 4, 3, 2. Perfect start. He's right next to me. There we go. We're pulling off on him, and we got him. We got him pretty good here, guys. I don't know if you can see or not, but he's pretty far back there. So the RT definitely gets the nod here, guys, as we knew it would. But I definitely had him by quite a few cars. It's good stuff. Well, guys, I am back at Clay Cooley Dodge. I've got my buddy here, my sales guy, Daniel, and he's a good sport because he ran the SXT. We knew what was going to happen when we lined those two up. Yeah, but it was still fun to do. I don't know if I got really good footage of it because I didn't have my GoPro, but we still did it, and it was fun. I want to take a second and thank you for your time today, because obviously he was able to kind of let me get both cars, let me review these, get me the service bay, all that kind of stuff. So these guys are fantastic to deal with here at Clay Cooley Dodge in Arlington, Texas. And they're just always doing business. They're very, very busy. Man, I wish they had more inventory for you to sell.
We're coming. It's coming. It's over here very soon.
We got to get these factories open back up.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Got your hands tied. But anyway, guys, if you do happen to need a new Dodge, make sure you come see these guys at Clay Cooley. Come call Daniel, and he will get you hooked up. Like I said, he sold me my STI not too long ago. So they're good people to deal with. So much appreciated, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so I am back aboard the Challenger Scat Pack now, and you know what? It was a fun little comparison to check out the Challenger SXT versus the Challenger RT. I mean, obviously, yes, there is a difference in power, as we did see on the highway. The RT does just walk away from the V6 version, but in terms of like amenities and stuff like that, you can kind of get whatever trim you want, and there is a reason that Dodge sells more SXTs than all 3 other trims, or all the other trims combined. I mean, it's just a really solid little car. It is not a race car. It's not going to set the world on fire, but in terms of just being cool looking, yeah, you still get that cool old school muscle. And in the Charger, like I said, you do get kind of that practicality and some of that muscle feel as well. But you get it at a much lower price. So that makes a huge difference, guys. So there's all about affordability, but still having the cool look. And I think obviously that's why the SXT is so popular in both the Charger and the Challenger. And you know what? At the end of the day, they're still fun cars to drive. They ride nice. And, you know, I really don't have anything ill to say about them. Like I say, if you're a race car driver, probably want to step up. Even the RT, guys, I won't say it's necessarily a race car, but it most certainly gets out of its own way. It does have a nice V8 feel to it, and it's just a really nice quality package. I really, really enjoy the RT. It's just a fun car. Now, the Scat Pack, yeah, it's going to have a lot more low-end torque. I love the initial punch of the Scat Pack. I really adore driving this car around on the street. It's a lot of fun. But guys, you know what? If you don't have the money for an RT, or you just don't need that much horsepower, you know what? Go ahead and grab you an SXT. I mean, a lot of people, they sell a zillion of those things, and there is a reason. So it's been a fun little review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And until next time, Racer X.